Okay, yeah. So sorry, what were you saying?
We were talking about why... I think people are very polarized, but I think at the end of the day, people also want bipartisanship, and they feel that if they vote against the party that's in power, that's giving themselves sort of a veneer of bipartisanship.
Right.
Huh.
Okay. So we're looking at New York. So bipartisanship, is that even desirable?
I think it is. I mean, I'm a pretty big liberal, as I think you probably are. But I mean, I think that ultimately we need it, because I just don't think it hurt. I think it really hurts our politics when one party tries to ram something through. Mm-hmm. And it never seems to work out that well. I mean, I think Obamacare on balance has been good, but it's certainly been very acrimonious because it was.
So back to you were talking about your mother for a second ago. So you think that she's going to do well with this?
I think that she's going to do well. But also I think that there's probably going to be coattails from the governor of New Jersey. I think Phil Murphy is the Democratic candidate. He's a former Goldman Sachs guy, and I mean, they just came out with a Quinnipiac poll, and he was like 25 points up, 58 to 33.
Where is Quinnipiac?
Connecticut. So
is there like anyone that lives there other than the polling people?
Sure, Joe Lieberman lives there.
Quinnipiac?
I mean, I thought you meant the state of Connecticut.
Well, the state, I mean, you'd probably want to avoid that state too. But I mean, like,
no, it's a great state.
Is it a great state?
It's a blue state. A lot of wasps, though, I guess, in Greenwich.
Mm-hmm.
But
once I went skiing there wasn't much more than a hill.
Like it seems like a very flat state. Yeah. Maybe not flat in the way Nebraska
personality
is.
As well, but yeah.
Right. Well, sort of that stereotypically waspy thing that you've got going on in Connecticut. But yeah. So I think New Jersey is likely to go Democrat. I mean, I don't think Phil Murphy is going to win by 25 points or
Who's
20
Phil Murphy?
points. He's the Democratic candidate for governor. Former Goldman Sachs guy. No, New Jersey.
In New Jersey.
Yes.
We're bouncing around here.
We're all over New England. And now down to the Mid-Atlantic. And I think he'll probably have coattails. But the one thing I have to say is, of course, the Democrats have not performed well in congressional special elections this cycle.
Why is that?
Well, because the districts were just too red. I mean, it would be...
You mean gerrymandering or what?
Well, absolutely. The districts are gerrymandered to be extremely Republican in these states. And now, of course, Montana is not gerrymandered because it only has one congressman, but at the end of the day, it's a very Republican state, despite the fact that it has a Democratic governor and a Democratic senator.
Can I add a kind of funny thing? So, a previous guest in the podcast, I think Dr. Mark Graber, spoke about the Constitution and the Electoral College process, and actually, in a way, that the addition of new states to the Union was a political maneuver that was somewhat, in a manner of speaking, somewhat analogous to gerrymandering. So, like, there was only going to be one Dakota, but what happened was, in the Reconstruction period, every time they added a state that was, I guess, a new state, I can't remember the exact details.
I think it was like, I know in 1820, Maine became a state as a free state, and then they brought in a slave state because they wanted to maintain the balance.
I'm more talking Reconstruction in the late 19th century when it was after the Civil War, but I guess it was something that I guess it would be a different president. It swung a presidential election, Grover Cleveland or someone like that in the 19th century. So they were adding instead of they knew that the Dakotas would go whatever Republican or something.
I see.
And so they're let's get a North Dakota and a South Dakota, so we'll have more votes in the Electoral College.
Sure, no, that
and
makes
that will
sense.
swing who becomes president, and that kind of determined some of the geography of the Midwest and the West, especially the Northwest, I think, because the U.S. Senate was trying to push through more statehood. I think Colorado became a state very quickly in this fashion in order to...
I think Colorado became a state in 1876.
Okay, so, wow.
We'll have to check that on Google, but because I think it was the centennial
year. Cornucopia of knowledge.
Exactly.
I'll refer to you as.
Exactly. But yeah, so I guess that sounds like an old form of gerrymandering.
Yeah.
I mean, not exactly how... I mean, it doesn't look like any new states are coming into the Union at any time soon.
Well, I just wanted to continue on the thought of cornucopia. The press...
It's almost Thanksgiving.
Not really, but the press the press has been having a feast lately on everything going on in the White House. So, I don't know. I mean, you're here in a labor office or just... What's going on?
Union.
Union.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, of course, federal government employees are under the microscope, as tends to happen under Republican presidents. And recently we had the VA Accountability Act, which passed. The VA is always a punching bag for administrations because everybody wants to support veterans, and there's been a lot of criticism. As you know, there were some scandals at the VA last year where I think somebody died at a...
Yeah, but that's the Walter Reed, and under Sununu under Obama was fired or something like that.
Yeah, there was something at Walter Reed.
They shut down Walter Reed and moved it to Bethesda Naval, and
I don't believe that's not part of the VA. I don't think. I think that's part of DoD, Department of Defense.
Yeah.
But in any event, the VA Accountability Act has made it easier for the VA to fire employees because employees are really the best, the easiest punching bag that they have. They don't seem to go after management. It's easier to go after the people who are on the low rung.
But if they really wanted to be fiscally conservative, they'd have to. It would be easier to save more money by cutting management because they have higher salaries than the employees, right?
I suppose, yeah. So I don't know that it's as much of a budget. I mean, I guess it's always a budgetary issue with the VA Accountability Act, though. I'm not familiar with the ins and outs other than
something that labor opposes.
Something that labor opposed, right?
Yeah.
Because again, Trump and the Republicans want to be able to say they reformed the VA.
Let's get into some of the fun stories of some past clients without naming names.
I don't think I want to get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any funny stories?
I don't think.
Have you heard any funny stories in Washington, even not related to work?
Not related to work. Not really. I mean, I'm at work all the time.
Or campaign trail with your mom?
Well, I mean, not really a funny story, but I was walking down the street with my mom, and she was at a door somebody was talking her ear off, and this woman was walking down the street, and she said, "Is that Linda Greenstein over there?" I said, "Yeah, it's my mom." I was sort of standing off to the side. And she said, "Well, I want to talk to her. I work for such and such organization, and your mom helped get money put into the state budget to help us out." And it's just such a joy to sort of see all that hard work pay off. I mean, somebody literally stops you on the street and basically just wanted to say thank you and said to my mom, I don't usually vote for Democrats, but I'm going to vote for you because you've helped us out.
And that's actually helpful because you have a competitive purple district where the general is actually the really competitive area, so she can appeal to non-Democrats being Republicans or independents and actually benefit from that. Like they can vote for her, as opposed to if she's running in a closed Democratic primary, then, her support wouldn't really matter.
Right, exactly.
At least not as a vote. She could always get money or knock doors for her or something.
Sure.
There's always a way to help. So, by the way, if you know any politicians who are running for office and you want to help, even if you're not a Democrat or registered in their district and you want to help, there are always many ways to do so.
There are. And unfortunately, we live in a place where we live in a time when money is so important.
Yeah.
So, although I guess it's been the case for a long time, unfortunately.
So, are you ready for a beer, Evan?
I am.
All right. All right, guests, thanks for joining us. I hope you've been enjoying this. If you're interested, you can listen to Evan's previous episode on Public Interest Podcast. Just go to publicinterestpodcast.com and type in Evan Greenstein. This has been another episode of PIP Journal. And hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks.